Hi class, I'm your virtual science helper, Mr. Frizzle, and today we're going to learn about rocks and minerals. So, what we got here, I've got 6 different rocks here. They all have a lot of different properties. Properties are things that make up the rock. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I've got a bunch of rocks here, right? So rocks are actually made out of minerals. Minerals make up rocks, but when you see a rock, it's usually made up of more than one mineral. Minerals we find in the ground, but once they smush together, they start to form different types of rocks. And the scientists that actually study these rocks, they're called geologists. Geologists study the Earth's structure and all the rocks that they find inside of the Earth. So, there's so many different ways we can classify these rocks here. Let's start. I'll start with this rock here. This texture's really bumpy here. It's a really bumpy texture here. But this rock here, it's really smooth on the outside. This rock's really smooth on the outside, but you can also see that on the inside of this rock here, it's pretty shiny. You can see the luster. That's what geologists call shiny rocks, the luster. The luster inside of this rock is actually really shiny, but the outside of the rock's kind of dull, but it's also very smooth. So we'll put that in the smooth pile. This is the rough pile. Now we've got a rock here. This one also has a lot of luster. It's really shiny, but on the outside. It's really shiny on the outside. You can kind of see it sparkling in the light here. It's kind of a small rock. It's only about, I got a trusty ruler here. It's only about 1 inch when the rest of these rocks are about 2 inches. But it still has a pretty rough outside. So I'm gonna put that in the rough side. This rock here, very rough, very dull, but it's flat. You know, not like our other rocks. This one was kind of flat as well, but this one has no luster on the outside. It's really dull. It's kind of looks dirty or kind of rusty. Maybe there's some iron inside of this rock here that's actually making it look so brown. But that's something that a geologist would actually study to see if there's a lot of iron inside of this rock, which makes this color so brown. But it still kind of has like a smooth surface, so I'll put that in the smooth surface pile. Now our next rock here, it's also square, but if I rub off some of this dust here, let's see if we can actually see. Is there any luster? Still seems kind of dull, and it's really smooth on every side. So we'll put that in the smooth side as well. And this rock here, this one's also looks pretty interesting. If you look here, it's got like these darker lines on the inside of it, kind of like a network or like streams running through. You can see maybe these are just the different types of minerals that make up this one rock here. But it's still pretty smooth, and on the inside it's still pretty smooth. So we'll put that also in the smooth pile. So there's a bunch of different ways to classify the rocks and the minerals that we find in the earth. Like, we can also just put these together. We can classify them by size. I can say these 2 rocks here are small rocks, and these 2 here, these are round rocks, and these 2 here, these are kind of like geometrically or broken rocks. So we can always classify our rocks and minerals that we find in the earth in different ways. But the only way to tell what properties or what actual minerals make up the rock is for us to actually test. So geologists would take a certain rock that they find in the earth, and then they would maybe take a little piece off, and then they would study that rock to see what different types of minerals are inside of here. Like this rock, for instance, this rock here may have some iron in it, or it may have different metals inside of it, but you would have to test it if you were a geologist. So there's different ways to classify rocks, but you remember how I said, oh, these are small rocks? That information, when it comes to having smaller rocks, it doesn't really help the geologist to find out whether or not what type of minerals are made up. Because as you can see, inside of a rock here where it's kind of broken on the inside, rocks can be broken down into smaller and smaller rocks. So classifying rocks by size isn't really that important. You should definitely always just classify the shininess on the inside or the luster on the inside of each rock, the dullness. You can also try and figure out like how hard. Is this rock harder than this rock? If I smash these two together, will this rock break? They make different sounds when you clank them together. All of these different ways to classify your minerals or your rocks can help you to identify what type of minerals you're actually dealing with, and it can also help you to find out what kind of rocks are in your area. Rocks and minerals are very important, guys, but minerals themselves make up so many things in our earth, and they make more than just rocks. But we'll get into that in another lesson, guys. Until then, I'm your friendly science helper, Mr. Frizzle. Have a great day, guys. Bye.